everybody, and welcome to Reviews from Hell. I am your host, AJ, and as always, I am joined by my co host, Steve. And
Howdy.
today we are going to be talking about probably one of the best, if not the best, horror films of the year, because, in my opinion, it's definitely in the top three of the year so far. And we are going to be reviewing Zack Creggor's new film, Barbarian. And Steve, I know you loved it as much as I did. So, what did you think about Barbarian when you first saw it? Because this was your first Dolby Cinema experience as well, right?
Was it my first Dolby? I think that it was. I think that I forgot that. I didn't even mention that in the pre-show because it totally slipped my mind. But you're right, and now that just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks too. Yeah, what a good one too. I did love this movie. I want to talk about it. I've been dying to talk about it. It's a movie that I want to say because I felt like I even wrote shameless plug for our parent company, Infamous Horrors, on the website. My first review is up for Barbarian. And other than mentioning a time jump that happens in the movie, I left it as spoiler free, which was hard as shit, to be honest. So I'm glad that
because this is a film like you feel like you can't review it without going into what happens in the film.
But I feel like here it actually has been out for a minute. And
it's been out a few weeks, so I think we can talk about
it. Yeah. I hope so, right? Yeah, okay, good. So if you come to this episode and you're just watching us, stop, go watch another episode, go see that, and come back. I just feel like saying that.
It should be out on digital in probably a couple weeks anyway if you haven't seen it.
If you're not comfortable going back out to the theaters yet, or you just don't like to go to the movies and you prefer to watch at home, I'm sure the window is so short these days. So anyway, about Barbarian, I knew next to nothing. I will say I remember seeing that first teaser. Right?
Yeah, I did as well. And that's the only thing I wanted to see. I did not want to see anything else.
Word got out pretty quick amongst circles on the internet that we kind of roam around on the fringes of and inside of, like just film critics and people that got screeners and went to a couple screenings and stuff. The word got out pretty quickly that you should know next to nothing going in.
Right, that's what I heard as well.
Podcasts that I listened to said, fucking one of the best films of the year, incredible, just praise, but don't spoil. So I was very like you. I watched that teaser. That teaser came out a while ago. I remember seeing it on the big screen for something I saw. It seems like a while back, and that's it. I knew that setup that they wanted you to know that it's two people. They booked a B&B, both of them, and they stayed there. I saw another movie like that recently, which has a similar plot to that. And now I can't remember what it was, and it's going to drive me crazy. I'll remember, I'm sure, where two people booked the same thing. But anyway, so you get that set up, and there's a lot of – he said he wanted to show these kind of – I heard the director talking, and writer-director, and he said that he –
Writer-director Zack Creggor, yeah.
That's exactly right. Zack Creggor said that he wanted to show a situation – where it would, if you were male, just how the differences in male and female that can show different situations that are normal and unassuming for a male that a woman is absolutely terrified in for lots of different reasons, and wanted to see, what happens when a woman, we're always yelling at the screen. I even mentioned this in my article that a lot of times in older horror movies, they called this out in the meta movie Scream, where Nev Campbell talks about people always do dumb shit in horror movies, and you want to yell at the screen, stop doing the dumb shit. You wouldn't do this in real life. Well, this is a movie where it goes out of the way to let you know that Georgina Campbell's character does everything right. She has every suspicion to the point of me, which kind of shows where I'm coming from as male is not the same place where, it kind of shows that, because in the theater after a while, I'm like, calm down, girl, and it's no, don't calm down.
So you wouldn't take any drinks from Bill's character as well.
Yeah, stuff you wouldn't even think of, and then stuff that is, and even there were points of it where, and it's very good where it shows the power of casting. Bill Skarsgård, you just can't get away from the Pennywise of it all. And other than that,
and there's even a meta line in there that he has, which made me laugh my ass off too.
I don't remember it. What was it?
There's like, what do I look like, some kind of monster to you?
That's funny because all he has to do is smile and cock his head a certain way, and the answer is a solid and definite yes. You do. Calm down. Please stop. So there is that, and I think that he plays really smart with that. So the first act is very Hitchcockian, very Fincher. I heard him say something very cool also in this same podcast. Creggor said that he wanted the movie. He always envisioned the house and the movie split in two levels, and that on the top floor was David Fincher, and in the basement was Sam Raimi. How cool is that? Because I think that is
very cool.
Close. Yeah,
and the way you saw that, it was very much David Fincher-esque, how things messed with your mind and kind of messed with your vision a little bit. Yeah.
The misdirection and just all these cues that are kind of pointing you towards there's something. Maybe Bill Skarsgård isn't who he says he is, and but that's obviously, as we later find out, just brilliant misdirection. But the parts that even I started to cringe at his behavior was, say, she comes out of the room taking a shower or something, and he's sitting there in the living room with 2 glasses of wine like filled that she already had refused.
To go, yeah.
She had already refused earlier, and it was just, I thought, okay, this is creepy. Like, I wouldn't do this. That's creepy.
Well, so, you would like to think you want to do it, right?
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, sure. Right. That's a whole other thing. But so, and at some point after this kind of like psychological play of what is he not, bad, good, is it, things are okay, what's going on, of just wondering, and it keeps getting tenser and tenser, a door opens up in the middle of the night with some tunnels underneath the Airbnb, and that's all you're supposed to know going into the movie. And that's pretty much the whole first act of the movie, leads up to them finding and going into the tunnels underneath and making grisly discoveries. And then there is a hard slam, so to speak, like into a different like timeline, into a different story.
It takes a hard left turn, as you would say.
It takes a hard left turn. And so the movie's called Barbarian, and I guess do we want to spoil what's down there or not? Do we want to spoil that, or do we want to keep it kind of?
Do we want to go into the time zone as well? Because I think the time zone. Yeah, well, I guess we do discover that before the time zone. So yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, well, what's in the basement is the whole thing of the movie. So again, if you don't want to know, please stop listening. But the movie's called Barbarian, and we first see what, oh my God, it's a fucking barbarian coming at us in this tunnel. It is a tall, uber tall, unnaturally tall creature that the only way you can tell it's a female in anatomy, just through anatomy. There's breasts and there's a vagina, but calling this a woman at first, it's obviously meant to look like a monster. And it almost looks like something from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, too, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, actually. It invokes a lot of those kind of just something unnaturally tall kind of coming at you from the dark. A lot of stuff comes to my mind, like A Tale of Two Sisters, obviously The Ring, something with odd movements that's kind of maybe female, or feminine in a strange way. So this is obviously that, and it is a disgusting creature. It's got snot and hair, and like it's very big, and it just looks like it's all dry skinned, and it's a monster, and it's very big and imposing, and it kills Bill Skarsgård very, very unceremoniously and brutally. Murders him, takes his head and smashes it repeatedly off a wall until
it is brutal. Yeah.
Well, and you are in shock. Your jaw hits the floor, and before you have time to pick it up, you're riding down a beach in a Corvette with Justin Long, who you have not met up until this point. And like I said, this is like 40 minutes into the movie. I'm guessing at that mark, but this is. You go through a journey.
Yeah, that seems correct. Like it was about at the 45-minute mark, because the movie probably just around an hour left. Yeah.
Yeah, you come into the movie with Georgina Campbell, and the movie starts as she comes into the story. Boom, she pulls up in the rain to the B&B, the B&B in Detroit, Airbnb. And when she goes to the house, Bill Skarsgård is already there. It's already been double booked. And we go from there. It goes right into it. And you learn things about through a well-written screenplay. You learn the characters as we go through the story. Through a good use of flashbacks, but a lot of it through conversation and just plotting, through the script. It's well done, is my only point. But so my point is you go on this journey, obviously, for a while, and you get to know these are my main characters. This is who I'm going with. Bam. One of them's dead. We can assume for now that the other one met a grisly fate. And we'll come back to that later.
Kind of leaves it up in the air at that point.
Yeah, you don't know. You're just boom. You're just here. You got to pick your jaw off the floor and start following along here. You're going to get left behind. But it's very interesting.
And this is a bold turn to take when it's just like that, and then you go to Justin Long singing in his car, because that can mess with a lot of people if you take a turn like that as well after a sequence like that.
Oh yeah, there were people in my theater that audibly were I could hear some audible, like, what the fucks, kind of things, like what, like kind of laughter, just kind of audible, what the fuck is happening, kind of sounds and comments. Even I kind of like laughed a little bit.
I chuckled a little bit. But I think that's kind of the point of that.
Oh yeah, it's just so we just didn't have any time to process this. Obviously,
it was almost like a Coen Brothers moment too.
Sure, and what I thought was just that I didn't have any time to process this traumatic moment, and here I am with this guy who, within no time, we find out is a scumbag. Like, he is a rapist. We learned that this guy is a rapist, and he is a hotshot young auteur director in Hollywood, living the Hollywood life that just couldn't help himself from being a shitbag rapist. Yep. And he's getting called on that, apparently. There's like and so it becomes
a Me Too article about it. Yeah.
A Me Too, there's a Me Too article that's coming out about him. And then it goes on. We found out that there also might be criminal charges because of this Me Too investigation coming. And then we hear him just talking to a friend at a bar, nonchalantly confirm that, yes, I indeed forced sex on this girl, but it was no big deal. Just showing that he doesn't deny even really what happens. It's just how he views rape. How, it's just, and that's what we see too. And here's the thing. Justin Long, the smart thing about the movie is everything I just described about him, he's a total piece of shit, right? Go see the movie. It becomes more nuanced than that in a sense, not that he's not a shitbag.
Yeah, it is.
Because they show you that, whenever we hear about monsters, whenever we hear the word barbarian, we think that we're going to see a monster. We don't think that we're going to see necessarily the young Hollywood director that is charismatic and funny and a fun guy to hang around, and one of the guys, and privileged and successful, seemingly has everything that any of us would do, who knows what to achieve, still have to rape, women, still have to be a rapist, be a monster, to be a barbarian. And then we see him go through this lip service of a change. And, even that is done in a way that you're like, oh my gosh, because you end up going on a journey with him and Georgina Campbell. The stories collide. So you think this guy goes through this whole journey and we're going to actually have to grow with this guy. And no. He is a barbarian. You skipped
over it, but that one phone call that he made to the female making that article, kind of reminded me about like Stringers a little bit, when Jon Favreau still called that woman in the hotel room. And you're like, dude, don't do that.
Yeah, imagine, except that like this woman would be traumatized by that phone call. And it's also like the worst thing he could do for any legal case that's coming. And he's already been told that by his attorney, by his high-priced attorney. And there's people that are cutting ties with him in his business. And he's so kind of egotistical. He's still trying to find this like wiggle room for him to
get out of it.
His reputation and the lifestyle that he wants, and for people to respect him, and to keep his privilege. He doesn't want to lose that privilege. And I think that's what's so frustrating for a lot of people. is that there is a privilege in Hollywood itself. There's so many different layers of this type of thing we could get into, but the one I think is interesting coming from a filmmaking perspective is that there are so many artists out there struggling from so many different backgrounds and perspectives that could be giving us interesting stories that are very talented. There's through a lot of structural, institutional types of reasons. We'll never get the opportunity that we see so many people have that are mostly, male and white, repeatedly get caught up in these scandals that a lot of times feels, at the very least, like, why are you doing this? And just feels like, and when you see someone like Justin Long's character, who is brilliant in this movie, I think it's a career.
He is really brilliant, and he's also brilliant in House of Darkness as well.
I haven't seen it yet, but I wanted to because he's having a good horror summer. And Justin Long, there's those memes out there now. The original Jeepers Creepers was brilliant, but very problematic now for good reason. But it still was great. Justin Long was great in it. What else was there? Tusk, which was a balls out film that he went balls out in, and he was great in it. There's the brilliant Drag Me to Hell. My vote for trying to find a new Halloween movie to watch to pair. And I saw them voting, trying to put that and Trick or Treat from 2007 against each other. And I said, no, just watch them both. So Trick or Treat. So he's brilliant in Drag Me to Hell. So good in that. Let's talk about a bleak ending, right? And so Justin Long is like a scream king. Justin, and he's been quietly doing this.
Sounded like Patrick Wilson quietly became one as well.
Oh, totally. Patrick Wilson's one. And I just think Justin Long is like a good character actor. And I really think if you want to see him be fucking funny, Kevin Smith's underrated Zack and Miri Make a Porno. The scene with him is one of my
I'm in fucking movies.
Top fun. The way he talks, he does this whole kind of I'm in gay porn, and this is my husband, and his husband's Superman. It is Superman. Yeah, yes, and it is Superman, and it was right after he was Superman at the time. It was only a couple years. And so,
because there was 08 or 09, right? And
08 it was 08. Walkout was like 09. This was like 08. And this, I thought, was kind of Kevin Smith at the time was trying to reinvent himself as just kind of a journeyman working Hollywood director. And he hit a lot of ups and downs in that time period. And that, I think, is an up.
I think he was trying to go back closer to his Chasing Amy days.
The only thing I think some of his movies at that time period, like Clerks 2 and Zack and Miri, I think that they kind of suffered from I think he wanted to have a more conventional, maybe Hollywood ending that felt like the ending of a rom-com. So I felt like the ending of those kind of movies kept them from being great like his earlier stuff, but they're still great. They're still like Zack and Miri is hilarious. Like, especially that one. I think people should see that more. And just, like I said, I got off on a tangent about Kevin Smith, but Justin Long's moment in that movie, and it is just one scene, it's one of those one scenes that is just fucking hilarious and it just stays with you. So but all those kind of horror roles, like, to me, Justin Long is someone that we don't talk about, that I think he got pigeonholed, obviously, early on.
Especially with the dodgeball early on.
Yeah, dodgeball and the accepted.
He was the PC and versus Matt guy, too. And those
they say the computer commercials, and I think that he just got and what was the other? The Accepted, where there was all kinds of movies like that. All kinds of movies.
Which is another underrated comedy film of its time. Yeah,
they're fine, but I felt that now later, I feel like he has tried to do more interesting work, and has been able to, and which can't always be easy. Sometimes you just gotta, you gotta work. You're trying to get paid here, but also you also want to, I'm sure, do things that are interesting and challenging. And I just think it's fun seeing him do this kind of stuff more as he gets older. He gets to, I'm sure, choose and gets offered more projects like this. Good, great for him. It's a great performance. It will be ignored by the Academy, so don't worry. Just like every other great performance from horror that we talk about on here. But yeah, the whole cast is great. Bill Skarsgård gets a lot of screen time in that first act, and then that brutal death. And Georgina Campbell really does a lot as the lead of this film. You come in with her, and you are on the journey.
She commands the screen in every scene that she's in, too. I mean, it had to be a difficult role to pull off as well.
When you come back into the third act and you are with her and see that she's still alive down there, it's like a sigh of relief. It's like the one time in the movie I remember being like, oh, thank God, she's not dead. She's okay. We're gonna.
And she was really smart with that mirror, putting the sun on that mirror for like a light to kind of try to look down.
Yeah.
The basement as well.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. She ended up getting caught doing that or something, right? Yeah. And
I did really love how Zack Creggor used the location of Detroit.
I want to just talk about that. That's not like an accident.
No, not at all.
Yeah, Detroit is a good example of how the American dream, quote unquote, is dead. If you look at Detroit 50 years ago, Detroit was a mecca. Detroit was the center of a mecca is a bad word. Forgive that. Bad word. Detroit, I apologize for that. Detroit was like a hub.
All my Detroit friends are going to hate you for that.
No. I just shouldn't use that word like that. But anyway, Detroit was like a hub for it was known as an innovative and progressive and city of the future, city of the times. It's where the automobile industry was, and it was just a great shining example of American capitalism's success story. And you look there now, and you see post-capitalism's failure. You see a lot of pain. You see a lot of drug addiction. You see a lot of dilapidated houses. You see areas that are completely run by gangs,
abandoned,
and areas that are set up and run with like hippie communes and punk rock artist collectives, which that movie touches on, and which Barbarian touches on that kind of idea with Bill Skarsgård's character. So there's all this that goes into it, and the movie kind of reflects that as well. It goes back in time, and you see Detroit. You see the same area that is a hellhole now, that is a totally just abandoned kind of dystopian, cityscape wasteland. Now you go back 50 years, and you see that era, right, where it was so beautiful, and supposedly everything was so great. We hear that so much, that it was the good old days. Not really. That's some propaganda that I think that Americans tell themselves to a large extent, especially for a lot of people. And it shows you when you see Richard Brake and his serial killing and his stalking that leads to Barbarian eventually down the road. What you see is that the evil, what I think it's trying to say personally, is that the evil was always there. The rot was there at the center of America. And now the outsides just more accurately match the insides. That's my deep thoughts on the theme of Detroit.
And I think that's what Creggor was trying to captivate with using Detroit as the city, because it was its own monster within the film as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's its own monster. It's a character in the film. And I love that when the setting of the film is also a character of the movie, and that pulls that off. And I think what's scary too about it when I think about that is we could be talking about not just Detroit. We could be talking about so many mid-sized cities, small towns, anywhere USA. Where I live, I'm in Charlotte right now part of the time, but where I live and work in Logan, West Virginia, where we've talked about in the coal fields, you have a lot of the same problems. So you have a lot of the same problems that you have in urban America, in rural working class America as well. So, and I just think that's important to say, because those two groups of people often see themselves as opposing, but I think that they have a lot more in common than anybody in charge wants them to ever realize. I'll just say that. But yeah, so I think that Barbarian is not only scary, it's also surprisingly funny in parts. Like we said, like the first, like when it gets down to the basement, it gets so outlandish. It's one of those things where it's so fucking crazy. You just find yourself laughing.
I was laughing my ass off the whole time. Justin Long Googled about putting that extra like square footage in the cell.
That could have been me. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then he brought the tape measure, and he was like, "Oh hell yeah!"
Yeah, no, that's great, because that's the parts of it where it like really humanizes that bastard. You know what I mean? And because the movie purposefully like tries to humanize him, after showing you what a dickbag he is. It does a cool setup with him. He gets his comeuppance in the end, but
he does.
Gets exactly what he's deserved. It's chef's kiss. So yeah, wow. What more? Yeah, it's a movie that excited me. I'll tell you that. It reminded me of. It's not maybe the same thing, but just movies throughout my life that I saw that I wanted to run out and talk with people. I'll just say that immediately after, Barbarian was one of them, which is why it was hard I'm glad we got this episode out of the way because it was killing me.
Yeah, and it was one of those films for me too.
Yeah. So yeah, it was awesome. This was good.
Especially seeing it in Dolby Cinema on that big screen, and it still amazed me how it fit the whole screen too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to see Don't Worry, Darling later in IMAX, so I'm really, really stoked. I don't usually get to see IMAX stuff. We don't have any IMAX screenings in Charleston, so I try to do what I can when I'm here with my girlfriend. So, yeah.
So what theater are you going to see that at?
Well, I don't want any fans to mob me while I'm there, so I'm going to keep that.
Well, this is going to air right after.
Yeah, I won't be there. They'll just have to come take pictures of where I was and tag me online. It's at Regal. That's a
good IMAX. That's the only IMAX in our town that has recliners in it.
Oh, sweet.
And you know what? I don't know why the other AMC theaters don't upgrade their IMAX.
Oh, they totally should. Come on, AMC. I love AMC. Do you like AMC or Regal more? Do you like AMC or Regal?
I like AMC a little bit more.
Me too. I'm an AMC fan. It's that Nicole Kidman commercial that put it over the top for me.
Well, really, it's just the way they handle their screens too. They
I
don't
was
mask
joking.
a lot. They don't mask a lot like Regal does.
Yeah. No, you're right. This is honestly, it's the Regal Stonecrest is the closest to the house. It's the closest one to here.
Right, because you're in.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's only like 6 miles.
Yeah,
it's like 6 minutes from here. Like with with traffic, it's just like it's less than 10 miles from here. Let's put it that way. Yeah, very close. So yeah, but I do like going to Cinnabar and stuff. I do like going there. I'd like to next time I'm in. There's the Viz Art place that I'm a proud member of now. The only movie I've rented though, we rented some crazy fucking found footage movie that Gentry found. She finds the weirdest, coolest shit. It looked like like a Jessica White type thing, right? But it made Jessica White look like fucking Kubrick. Like it was like we found someone's like home movie serial killer footage. I'm not sure it was even legal what we found, but we got that.
That would not surprise me.
But we got Cronenberg's Crash, which I had actually never seen.
Really, that's an intense watch.
We watched it. That's what I can say.
Did you do a double feature with Titanic with it?
With what?
With Titanic?
Yeah. I like Raw way better. I liked Raw way better.
Really? See, I like Titanic way better.
I'm like, do you like that one way better? I'm glad it got made.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome and everything, but there was like an emotional. I think it's just like very cold emotionally, and it's not that there's I love Cronenberg. Like I spent a lot of money on a Videodrome hoodie like last weekend at Horror Hound, which was awesome. And I got this very offensive, I'm sure, Charles Manson shirt. We'll just show it off because it would make people angry. So yeah, I got that from Paul Bearer Press. They're awesome. And I got a really cool Videodrome hoodie. I don't remember who that was from, but yeah, Horror Hound was a blast, man. So David Cronenberg, I like the Videodrome. I love The Fly. I love Scanners. I love History of Violence and like Eastern Promises. Some of his fucking movies, though, man, you're talking about like Existence and Crash and Crimes of this Future, whatever it's called and stuff. They're just so fucking cold, like emotionally, that I feel like I'm like dissecting a movie instead of like watching one.
Watching one, yeah.
Yeah. So and I feel like, it's not that I definitely appreciate that shit. I'll watch it all the time. I'm into it. I'm there for it. I love Cronenberg. Yeah. But there's just movies of his I like more than others. And I've always heard how interesting Crash was. It's definitely interesting. It's definitely better than Paul Haggis's Crash. Yeah. Well, yeah, that goes without saying, right? But it wasn't my favorite Cronenberg movie. And I'm honestly, at this point in time, way more excited for what his son's doing, if I'm totally honest. It's just,
and it got slapped with an NC-17, too.
Yeah, they said they're appealing that. So I think they'll reach a compromise before it comes out. And I got to think some things like that, that's nothing but good PR for that movie.
Oh, yeah.
The people that are interested in it only go, oh, yes. I know I did. I wasn't like, oh, God, I can't see that now.
All right, so final thoughts on Barbarian. What would your final score be?
Oh, sorry. My final score would be a 5 out of 5. I think it's top 10.
I think I'd agree, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's top 10 of any list I make this year.
And I agree. I think it would be in my top 3 horror films of the year, which would be Barbarian, X, and Pearl so far.
Yeah, my top 3 would be probably, I don't know exactly what it would be, but I know Hellbender and Barbarian would both be in there.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Hellbender is in my top 10.
For real.
I think Crimes in the Future is also in my top 10.
Oh yeah, Crimes of the Future. I have a digital copy of it. I only watched it the one time. I remember even thinking I need a second watch on that before I even make an opinion on it. But it's definitely interesting and awesome. Like I need to watch it again to unpack it a little bit.
Right.
I was surprised at how little sex was in it. I will say that.
Yeah, I was too, because how much buildup that was in
there was so much
clip.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you sit there and take it too far and you say people are puking and stuff and fainting, like it's not 1973, it's not The Exorcist. We already had all that kind of, you know what I mean? Like it goes over the top, and when I see the movie, I'm like, no one was doing that. That was just PR. So but whatever, it's fun. So yeah, but Barbarian, American, I think it's American at least, but we're going to claim American classic. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a modern American classic horror film. How about that, Zack Creggor?
Yeah,
coming from the Whitest Kids You Know, and this is another standpoint I'd like to say.
Yeah,
that comedy is the hardest thing you can possibly do, because there you actually have to make people laugh.
Right. Absolutely. It's tough. It's tough. And I think that comedy and horror, I think it's easy to do a comedy horror together badly and cheaply. Yeah. But it's really hard to get a Shaun of the Dead or an Evil Dead 2. It's hard to do that. It's hard to pull off an Attack the Block. But when they do, we love those movies. And there is a lot of humor in this movie, but it's also poignant. It has something to say, but it's not preachy. And it's scary as fucking hell.
All right, everybody. This has been Reviews from Hell.